Hello, my name is Frank Christensen and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. This is the first of 2 training tapes dealing with catch or no catch. And today we're looking at the type that has to do with the potential receiver going to the ground. So when is it a catch, when is it not a catch, and what is our philosophy when a player is going to the ground while attempting to catch the ball. But before we get to the game film, let's have a look at what the MoFo has to say on this topic.
In the rulebook, we go to Rule 243 dealing with catch, interception, recovery. And we go to Article 3A. To catch a ball means that a player, 1, secures firm control with the hand or arm of a live ball in flight before the ball touches the ground, and touches the ground inbounds with any part of his body, and then maintains control of the ball long enough to enable him to perform an act common to the game, i.e. long enough to pitch or hand the ball, advance it, avoid or ward off an opponent, etc., and satisfies paragraphs B, C, and D below. So let's have a look at them. Paragraph B. If a player goes to the ground in the act of catching a pass, with or without contact by an opponent, he must maintain complete and continuous contact of the ball throughout the process of contacting the ground, whether in the field of play or in the end zone. This is also required for a player attempting to make a catch at the sideline and going to the ground out of bounds. If he loses control of the ball, which then touches the ground before he regains control, it is not a catch. If he regains control inbounds prior to the ball touching the ground, it is a catch. C. If the player loses control of the ball while simultaneously touching the ground with any part of his body, or if there is doubt that the acts were simultaneous, it is not a catch. If a player has control of the ball, a slight movement of the ball, even if it touches the ground, will not be considered loss of possession. He must lose control of the ball in order for there to be a loss of possession. And D. If the ball touches the ground after the player secures control and continues to maintain control and the elements above are satisfied, it is a catch. In the MoFo, we go to section 3.7, catches and fumbles. And Article 2 says, if the receiver gets his toe inbounds but his heel comes down a fraction later out of bounds, or vice versa, then the pass is incomplete. If the whole foot touches the ground, it all has to be inbounds for the catch to be completed. This principle does not extend to the foot and leg knee, nor to the hand and arm elbow. These are regarded as separate parts of the body, and only the first contact with the ground is relevant. Number 4 says, a player has the ball long enough to become a ball carrier when, after his foot is on the ground, he does one of the following, sometimes known as acts common to the game. 1. A. Avoiding or warding off impending contact by an opponent. B. Tucking the ball away. C. Advancing the ball or retreating with it. D. Taking additional steps while upright. That means not while falling to the ground. E. Passing the ball or handing it off. 5. Do not try to be too technical on ruling a catch. We do not want officials who try to have the greatest eyes in the history of the game and rule too many times the receiver has completed the process of the catch and fumbled the ball when it should be an incomplete pass. The most important principle is, when in doubt, incomplete. And finally, we use exactly the same approach whether the catch is in the end zone or in the field of play. So that was the technical part. Now let's have a look at some game film. In this first example, we're going to see a catch. So it's a fade to the end zone. right there. So basically what we see is the receiver goes up, he controls the ball. It's not a catch yet. It's important to get these definitions right. So he controls the ball in the air. He lands inbounds, 1 foot, actually both feet inbounds, still controlling the ball. And now he's going to the ground. And there he also has to survive the ground. And he does, still controlling the ball. So had 1 foot been out of bounds here, obviously it would have been an incomplete. But even with control and inbounds, had the ball come loose here, it would have been incomplete. So remember to get all three aspects: control, inbounds, survive the ground. Correct call for completed catch. Here's another completed pass, and it's in some ways similar to the previous play, where the receiver goes up, gets the ball, and then this happens. So let's break it down. So similar to the previous one, he goes up, he's airborne, he controls the ball. Obviously, he lands inbounds. And now, in the previous one, I said he had to survive the ground or it would be an incomplete pass. But in that one, he went to the ground right after controlling the ball. Here, he takes 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. He turns upfield and he takes 4 steps. So that is a football move. Now he goes to the ground. Now we go back to the axiom that the ground cannot cause a fumble. It can cause an incompletion, but it doesn't in this case. Here, I would say simply because he manages to take a number of steps before he is tackled, and then the ball comes out. I think this is a correct call for a catch and down before the ball comes out. So here is another catch. Now we'll see some incompletes. So now we get to the incompletes, and this is not the best video, but there's a reason I included this one in that. So we have a play here between the deep wing and the wing. Now we notice that the receiver here does an excellent attempt at catching the ball, but he's grabbing the ball at the top end of the ball. So when he goes to the ground, there's a very high likelihood that the ball is going to hit the ground. It's difficult for him from this point to get under the ball, and you see here that really we cannot tell from this angle if this is a completed or an incomplete pass, even though we may have our very strong doubts. I included this because we've got a wing here that comes up and strongly believes that this is a catch, but he really cannot tell. So my advice to him would be to delay his signal for a second or so and let the deep wing make a decision. So if you cannot see the ball, if in like in this example, if the receiver's body is screening you from the ball, leave it up to somebody else to make that call for at least a second or so, and that way we will be in better shape. But based on this, I would put money on the table and say this is going to be an incomplete pass, just because there's no way that he can get under the ball before it lands, and that means he's going to use the ground to make this catch. And again, he controls the ball, he lands inbounds, but as he lands on the ground, obviously, as he goes to the ground, he has to survive the ground, so to speak. He has to maintain control, and I don't think he does that in this case. Incomplete pass. Here's one that deals also with forward progress. So you see the receiver gets the ball and then it comes out. So again, he is controlling the ball in the air. He's airborne now, controlling the ball. He does come down inbounds, but he is then hit by the defense. He comes inbounds, and you might say, well, now his forward progress is stopped, and that means that the catch was completed. However, we still have the element of the ground, and he still has to survive the ground, and there the ball is loose, so he does not survive the ground. So we have the control, we have forward progress stopped, he's moved back, and he lands inbounds. So all of that is good. However, if he does not survive the ground, if he does not maintain possession as he lands on the ground, it is going to be an incomplete, and it should have been an incomplete in this situation also. Here we have another incomplete, and it's interesting for a number of reasons, because it certainly looks like a completion. So again, the receiver controls the ball in the air, comes down inbounds, but we cannot really see the ball right now, and she's going to the ground, and if the ball pops out, we're going to want to rule incomplete. So if we can't see the ball, we may think this is a completion right now. We may get ready to rule this as a completion, but she has to, this receiver, she has to survive the hit, to survive the ground, and if when the ball comes out like that, we are, instead of saying catch fumble and possibly a cheap turnover, we want to go incomplete instead. And this is a tricky situation where we think, oh, she caught the ball, and then when this happens, we have to be able to reverse our thinking and go back to saying, no, when that happens, this is now going to be an incomplete. So this should be an incomplete pass. This last play is very similar to the previous one in many ways. So we have a receiver here who controls the ball, but then again, you have to survive the hit, survive the ground, and if you don't, that's just a good defensive play. So here you may have a situation where the receiver actually controls the ball for a split second, and then either by the hit from the defender or the hit from the ground, the ball is popped loose. So even though you say he controls the ball right here, when it's that fast, the ball pops out either from one hit or the other, and there the ball is. This is going to be an incomplete. And again, you can say, well, he caught the ball. Oops, no, he didn't. Now we're going to go incomplete. So well done by this crew to sell this as an incomplete. And that was the training tape. I hope you found something you can use on the field.